Right, welcome on holding by Pirkei Avos, ethics of our fathers, as is known. Then want to welcome on holding by Pirkei Avos, ethics of our fathers. We are holding by second chapter. We are in the 16th Mishnah, and this is going to be part 4. Again, this is chapter 2, Mishnah 16. Part 4, the Mishnah says that in the name of Rabbi Yeshua, an evil eye, evil inclination, hatred of other people, remove a person from this world. So we've been speaking about the last few weeks about the evil eye. So we're gonna certainly continue with that. I mean, there will be a part 4, part 5, part 6 over here, no question. So basically we said that the evil eye itself, person essentially is jealous of somebody for whatever reason. So it doesn't matter what the reason. And because they're jealous for what the person did, doesn't necessarily mean the person himself did anything wrong, but the assumption here is that since they feel bad about what the person did, so God is going to open their file because Mr. S is Satan, the evil inclination, whatever you want to call him. He's going to say, come on, how does this person look? He made this person feel bad. It's very good. So what's going to be? Is he guilty? Is he not guilty? Again, we spoke. We spoke quite a bit about the idea of, a person does anything. They make an extension to their house. They get a new car. They get, whatever. It can make a person feel bad. Now, obviously, if that's the case, then the question's going to be, did they do it intentionally? Where are they holding? God takes pretty seriously, people feel bad. He's going to look into it and see to the person, what was their intention? Where were they holding? Is it something innocuous? The other person felt bad themselves. Okay, that's not necessarily our problem, right? It could be that a person may feel bad. Let's say, they can't add on to their house, their apartment, for whatever reason. Doesn't really matter why. Right? But let's say they can't. Now, just because a person, made an addition, doesn't mean that they're guilty here. If somebody, happened to me a few years back that someone built above me. Now, they had a lot of kids. And for a long time they wanted to do this. And they did it. They added 2 rooms. No one's going to say, oh, they didn't really deserve it. Look what they did. They needed the room, right? No, no question. No question they needed the room. So on that, a person felt bad, let's say. Again, if I were playing God, I'd put on my funny George Burns glass, my funny mustache, right? If I were playing God here, and I would say, what's so bad? What's so bad? What happened over here? The person themselves feels bad, right? They feel bad because the other person built. Doesn't matter why they can't build, right? It's irrelevant. Irrelevant why they can't build, right? So God would look at it and say, okay, they're not doing it in an ostentatious way, right? They're not doing it in an obnoxious way. They're doing it because they need the space. Okay. But again, just keep in mind, somebody does this, they got to be careful. Right? We have to be careful whatever we do, not to step on anyone's feelings, right? Which we've spoken about. Now, another explanation over here is, let's say a person feels bad, right? They have an evil eye for somebody. Why? Because maybe it has to do with their success. money. Or maybe it's their kids. Maybe their kids are exemplary kids. All go in the right path, doing good things. Okay. Yeah, maybe you have that. Maybe someone has that. And they feel bad. Right? For whatever reason, it causes them damage. Now, it could very well be, let's say a person has very little self-esteem. They don't feel good about themselves. So, therefore, maybe it grates on them. Maybe they say, I've tried this and I've tried that, and my kid's this and my kid's that, or, whatever. They feel bad. They feel bad their kids didn't turn out necessarily the way they wanted. Or maybe let's say this person has shortcomings. We all have shortcomings. Right? So maybe the person had shortcomings where it caused it. Or potentially it helped cause it. Or circumstances. Right? Let's say it was circumstances. I wouldn't say beyond their control. Right? Whatever the circumstances are. Right? Whatever the circumstances are, that caused it. That could have caused it. Doesn't really, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter why, but that would make a person feel bad. You can understand they shot themselves in the foot. They had certain things they needed to overcome. They didn't overcome them. Or they had a lot of difficulty overcoming them, or there were other, let's say, dynamics going on. And, in that sense, they failed. They failed. And, their child didn't come out the way they wanted. Let's say. I mean, when it comes to kids in general, could be, we do our best. And they don't necessarily come out the way we want. Maybe, we have certain goals for them. They don't want those goals. They have other interests, whatever. Right? Sometimes kind of painful to watch. Even if sometimes, let's say, it may be destructive behavior. Yeah, sometimes, you try and get involved, try and help, but everyone thinks they know better. Everyone's a, Monday morning quarterback, you're out of touch, you're out of this, what does the older generation know? So, they have their own ideas. And sometimes in order for someone to listen, they have to get smacked really hard. Right? They have to suffer. It doesn't have to be that way, but, Abraham Tversky, of blessed memory, who is very famous psychologist, and he said many times, he worked with addictions. That was his main thing. He worked with people that had addictions. And he said a number of times that sometimes a person, in order to get help, in order to become better, they have to lose everything. Or they have to lose a lot before they can hear that they have a problem. But he says it doesn't have to come to that. The signs are out there. Maybe, people say something. They're looking for the person's best interest. The person doesn't want to listen. The person steeped in their own whatever the addiction is, let's say. And, they go down this path. So it could be, as Dr. Tversky says, you want to get help. When is the person going to listen for help? When you lose. Not just you lose. Okay, you lost here, you lost there, other things happen. Okay. We're not talking about that. The person lost, serious. Lost his family, lost his house. Yeah. Stakes are very high. So he says, person will not necessarily get help or admits that they have issues until they lose everything. Now again, does it have to go that far? Doesn't have to go that far. For sure doesn't have to go that far. But he's a world expert, or let's say better, was a world expert. Right? He's no longer in this world. But he said, for a person to get better, sometimes they have to lose a lot. They have to lose, significant amount for them to finally admit they have a problem. That's it, right? Doesn't have to necessarily come to that, right? Doesn't necessarily have to come to that. But he says, like any addiction, he says that's kind of what happens. Or, and this is harder, much more tricky in that sense. And that is, someone has mental illness. Now, mental illness, the person has to also be able to see it. Either get evaluated or get help or, whatever. But even if they may say it, they may think they're okay and everyone else is correct. Person knows themselves better than anyone else. But they don't necessarily, it's easier for someone on the outside to see. To get the person to see it themselves, it's much harder. Much harder. Still a person addicted to something, yeah. So they might have to lose. They might have to lose everything. What if someone has mental health issues? Some sort of mental health issues causing problems. They don't, person can say, let's say get diagnosed, let's say. And then person on certain medication, that's a psychologist every so often, whatever it is, right? To get over this. But they say after a while, person's not working, this whole thing's not working. They think I have this, they think they know better, and they don't, or whatever. Or, not so easy also, find the right person. Right? Everything needs mazel, everything, I'm not going to translate it as luck, but, everything a person has. You have a car, you have a house, you have other things. You want things to go smooth. You don't want to buy a lemon, so to speak. You don't want to have problems. A person can buy a car, can have all kinds of issues. Even if it's a newer car, right? A person buys a newer car and has all kinds of issues. You say, people call it a lemon, right? So, you have to have mazel for that, for that as well. So if a person did need to see a therapist, you gotta see the right person. It's also mazel. Sometimes, it can take a number of people before, you finally get the real help, that you need. But, that's a whole nother, that's a whole nother discussion. But essentially a person can, so someone who's got mental health issues, it's harder. Because let's say they say, I cured myself. They try to do this to me, try to do that to me, put me on all this medication, blah, blah, blah. So, I got out of it. I knew better. Okay. Yeah. Maybe it's true. Maybe, in that sense, when a person has, usually, the mental health issue, it doesn't get cleared by themselves. Does not get cured by themselves. Now, wishful thinking, and if a person has the wrong person helping them, good, go somewhere else. Find someone else who can help you. That's it's an obligation to get yourself back on track. It's not a taboo thing anymore today. A lot of people go to therapy and, they have good results. It takes time, takes work, takes effort. But at the same time, someone doesn't recognize it or thinks they know better, cause more problems. They just don't see it. They don't see it. And I've come across a number of people. That they have serious issues. 100% serious issues. Even if they want to convert. Right? Even if they want to convert. They, have serious issues. They think they know better, they think this and whatever. So I'll tell them, get help. get where you need to get to. Conversion. Conversion might be an option. Doesn't mean someone with mental health issues can't convert. People out there that are bipolar. That's it can be treated with medication, treated with therapy. You can walk around, be normal people, not having episodes. So, it's not impossible if they're under the right care. But they have to get the right care. They can't think, they know better. And some people just, I would say, totally out to lunch. Had my share over the years. And they make claims and different things, and there's a screw loose somewhere. It's clear. It's not. It isn't like, oh, you're looking for things. No, there's looking things that are pretty, that are pretty clear something wrong. Yeah. So that a person, again, it doesn't mean a person can't get help. Can always get help. Right? It's all, you got to find the right person. You got to be willing to do it. You got to be willing to do it also. Not, sometimes the person thinks they know better. They don't think they have issues. So they like, this might sound like I'm crazy. Okay. Because it does. Right? 100%. Right? 100% it does. That's no question. I mean, I'm talking, way out things here. I'm not talking just, people disagree or have a difference of opinion or different things. There are people like, they're out there. They're out there. Okay? Somebody like that needs to get out. Needs to have their head screwed on straight. However that works. But, if you're not going to do that, you're still going to think, well, this is my calling in life, this is what I need to do, and all this and all that. Okay. It's like someone told me, someone texted me recently, it's like, you think I'm just out there, and you think I'm, you think I'm a wacko, and you think, you're just like everybody else. Okay. But everyone else is right. You sound like a wacko. You sound like you don't make sense. Right? It's a good reason why it's pretty obvious. Right? It would be pretty obvious to the naked eye. But someone like that, they ever going to get help? I don't know. I don't think so. I think, they know better. They're doing things better than everyone else. They got all the answers. Okay. But there's nobody home. There's just, when it comes to this, nobody home. Could be other things also. There's something missing. And again, does that mean a person can't get help? No. Doesn't mean that. A person has to know when. And obviously, it should be earlier than later. Because the longer it goes on, the longer it transpires, what's going to happen? It'll be harder to fix. They go, and the stakes are much greater. People are going to come like, when everything's just hitting the fan, and it's just like it gets to the point where, okay, do something now, it could be 10 times worse. Yeah, it'll come at the last second, and then there's like major crisis. So wouldn't have been easier, to be taken care of earlier? Sure. Yeah. Do we always do the right thing? No. Knowing what to do is the hardest part. That's 97% of the game, and most people don't know what the right thing is. And they're going in the wrong direction, in many ways. But even if a person knew what to do, let's say, they knew between right and wrong. They know which direction they need to go. Okay. But then, you got to put that in action. That you have to take what you know in your mind, put it into your heart. So there's always a heart-to-mind disconnect or mind-to-heart disconnect. Knowing what to do is the game. That's the majority of the game. Doing it, it's another issue. Right? Some would say it's a harder issue. Right? But, if most people today, their most important question is, I put ketchup or mustard on my hot dog. Right? And they're holding nowhere in the world, okay. Right? So They ever going to get to the truth? Probably not. Because they're not asking important questions. They're just going through life, whatever they do. Whatever they do, whatever they feel like, and etc. So they're going to ask that question. They're not going to get to the question. But if a person got to the question, and again, we have all kinds of agendas and different things. So a person says, no, this doesn't apply, and that's not what it means. And they go to Webster's 8th definition. Very good. So they're not going to see the truth. They don't want to see the truth. And they don't even care if it's true. Because the person will say, even if I know it's true, how does that apply to my life? It doesn't really apply to my life. Oh, I give you 3-4 concrete examples right now. You want to listen? No. Okay. They're talking to a brick. Right? They don't want the information. Plenty of people today, they got their own agendas. Okay. So that's 97% of the game. But if someone had their head screwed on straight, they know what the truth is. Very good. Very good. Then it's a different issue. Right? That's a different issue. So over here, there's jealousy, right? Person has, let's say, seems like the perfect life, perfect kids, perfect spouse. Again, that has nothing to do with the fact that he did anything wrong. Zero. But the other person looks and says, oh, yeah, well, I deserve that, and thinks he's so great, and this and that. Right? But this could cause personal damage, even if they didn't do anything wrong. Right? Why? Now, it's a pretty important thing here. Why is that? Because even if a person didn't think they've done anything wrong, right? Which in this case, they haven't. But this is how the person perceives it. That's how they look at it. Yeah, and that could cause damage. So regardless, the person has to be careful what they do, but let's analyze this for a second. A person doesn't think they do anything wrong. They don't think they've done anything wrong. But again, person thinks and is jealous that this person, this person has, the perfect spouse, perfect kids, perfect this, perfect that, and it makes the other person feel bad. You didn't do anything wrong, right? You did not do anything wrong. But it could cause them personal damage. Now, what's the issue here? The issue is, and this is not an easy thing either, and the issue is, this is how the person looks at it. This is how he perceives it. Now, imagine someone tells you that, I don't know, you've done this, you've done that, you've done the other thing. And you say, but I didn't do that. I never said that, or never had that intention, whatever it may be. Now, the person themselves, that's what they feel. That's their perception. Now, you, on the other hand, would have to try and convince them that that perception is wrong. Yeah? You have to show why that perception is wrong. But if they come to you and say, I feel X, I feel Y, you can say, I don't know why you feel that way. I haven't done anything to make you feel that way. Or just the opposite. You bent over backwards so many times, this, that, and the other thing. How could a person feel that way? Now, this is much harder because you have divergent opinions here. On the one hand, you yourself, you see one thing. You have a certain perception. How you think it is. Okay. Now, you don't necessarily see outside of yourself, We have our own biases, true. But a person could say, this is what I see. But the other person says no. The other person perceives it in a totally different way. And they say it might look like this, it might whatever, but and they go point by point, this, that, and the other thing. So you have divergent opinions here. Now, the first person can say, it's not true. I know we got this from, but it's not true, whatever. But that's what the second person feels. Now, if it's what the second person feels, you can't say it's not true. That's not going to win over here. It's not going to win the argument here. They're telling you that's what I feel. So how can you say, you don't need to feel that? You totally don't need to feel that. No reason to feel that. But that's what they feel. So then, you have to go a different direction. So at that point, you have to make sure that person doesn't feel the way they are saying they feel. But where's the difficulty come in? The difficulty comes in when you feel you didn't do anything wrong. When it's a misconception. Or it's a totally different thing. In other words, first person, what do you mean? I've done all this and I've done all that. How in the world could you possibly feel that way? They could say that. And the second person can say, you're right. With all that, I still feel that way. Now, the first person can't say, well, you're not allowed to feel that way. It's forbidden to feel that way. What do you mean? That's the way the person feels. So what a person has to do, and it's going to be very hard, what a person has to do is if that's the perception, if that's what they feel, then this person has to bend over backwards to fix it. You got to fix that misperception. Misperception. I don't even know if it's a real word, right? You got to fix that perception that's wrong. Even if you think you're doing this and you're doing that, you're doing all these good things, beautiful. That's great. But at the same time, what's the issue? The other person feels they're missing X, Y, Z. So the first person has to do things that are going to change that person's perception, even if they know or think what they've done plenty. They've gone beyond the letter of the law. They've done many things. But the other person still feels that way. So you can't say the other person doesn't feel that way. Can't say that. That's the way they see it. That's the way they feel. You can't tell a person not to feel that way. That's for sure you can't do. They have that feeling. Yeah. So now, whatever this person does, whatever the first person does now, right, it's got to do something to change that perception. Because if he doesn't do something to change that perception never changes. In other words, you go back to doing the same thing. Same thing. And you think you're, God's gift to the world, you're doing the greatest thing here. You're developing the relationship further, everything's good, you're talking this, whatever, beautiful. But the other person's saying no. The other person's saying it doesn't matter. Because they have a certain perception. Family's a good example, right? Throw out a family question. Some people will feel if you get the whole family together, that's the most important thing. Aunts, uncles, cousins, whatever. You get people together. You put people in the same room. Just because you put people in the same room doesn't necessarily mean everyone likes each other. Yeah, they see each other on once in a blue moon, maybe once a year, maybe a few times a year, whatever it may be. Does that mean they're close? Do any of these people pick up the phone to call their cousins, aunts, uncles, whatever? And if the answer is no, they're not that close. They wouldn't pick up the phone to say hi, right? Doesn't mean they're not necessarily glad to see them at a family function, okay? Maybe they're busy, they're always to speak to people on the phone somewhat, whatever it is. Whatever it is. But there's somewhat of a misconception, I'm not saying by everybody, by any stretch, but there's sometimes a misconception. You get everybody together, that's the most beautiful thing. I don't know. You put everybody in a room, that means everyone's ecstatic to be there with all the family members? I don't know about that. I wouldn't bet all the money I don't have on that. It's good, family gets together, as long as, there are no arguments and whatever, right? Okay, but the fact you have everybody in the same room, what does that matter? Well, that means everybody's so close. And that means, afterwards people are going to call each other and, get together on their own, not just once or twice a year. And, that'd be great if that would happen. Some families are closer, some not, whatever. It doesn't matter. But there is a misconception. The big misconception. I'm not saying everybody thinks this way. I'm just saying there are some people out there that think if I get everybody together, it's a beautiful thing. Now, it might be a beautiful thing, getting family together. Okay. You see cousins you haven't seen in a long time, this and that. But it doesn't mean you're close. It does not mean you're close at all. And some people, okay, in their minds, they think everyone's together. It's a beautiful thing. No major fights. No one's arguing. Everyone's having a relatively good time. Beautiful. Doesn't mean anything. You'll say, okay, well, what about people who don't get together? Fine. So your families don't get together. Some parts of the family do, maybe some don't. Whatever it is. Okay, but does that mean everyone loves each other? And everyone's like so close? I don't think so. There may be families that are close. Very good. Yeah. And they do speak every so often. Beautiful. Yeah, that's the way it should be, but it's not always the way it is. Not always the way it is, but just because you have everybody around, it doesn't mean anything. But what's the point? What's the point? The point is, and this is not so easy, right? None of these things are easy, right? But the point is, you have to see from someone else's perspective. See, the problem is, the Mishna says, in Sanhedrin, the world is created for me, i.e. for me and no one else. So each person's their own world. You're going to tell me what I think? You're going to tell me you think you know better, this and that? But if someone's coming across and they're saying, but I feel this. Say, but I never said that. I never did that. Doesn't matter. They feel it. So you have to do what you can to make them not feel that way. Even if you think you're right. Even if you think you're doing the same thing. Even think what you've done over time is the right thing. And you've given of yourself and this and that, but they don't feel it. So then you got to take a different approach. If you want to fix it. If you don't want to fix it, person can give and give and give and get nothing get nothing back. I don't know how many people enjoy one-sided relationships. There's some people who don't make phone calls. They'll be happy to speak to you. You call them, what's new, you have this great conversation, but they'll never pick up the phone. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they don't care. Maybe it does, but maybe it doesn't mean that. They just don't, they're not phone people. They don't pick up the phone. There are people like that, right? Now again, why should somebody be the only one to make the phone call? I get it. You make the effort. They never make the effort. Right? So what's the answer? You can choose. You don't want to make the effort. You want to speak to them. How important is it to speak to that person, whoever it may be? If it's important, so you make the effort. If you think it's not that important, then you won't. Right? I don't know, maybe a person just keep doing it anyway. Maybe. They've been doing it for so long, whatever. So people get tired. They're like, I make this effort. They don't make the effort. They may have good reason why they don't make the effort. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The fact is, that person's hurt. Why are they hurt? Because they're the ones making all the effort. So the answer is, how important is this? And if you know, doesn't matter. If it's a friend, it's a relative, doesn't matter. How much effort you want to put in. And if it's worth it. If it's worth it, okay. Then it's worth it. If it's not worth it, then that's it. That relationship will go by the wayside. Right? That's exactly what will happen. Because a person essentially is not going to make the effort. Right? They are not going to make the effort. It's just not going to happen. Not important to them. Not important enough. So how do you know? How do you know what to do in such a situation? You have to decide. Person's parents still alive. Okay. Even if they don't call you even this. So, okay, there are different halachas here. It's a mitzvah on a parent. Respect parents. So, other members of the family, it doesn't go that far. Definitely doesn't go that far. If you want to. Okay. A person has an older sibling. Right? Older brother, older sister, let's say. Also is brought down. There has to be a certain level of respect, honor. What if you don't get along? Let's say. Okay, can't be disrespectful. But does that mean you have to go out of your way to be in touch with them? I don't know. It depends. Right? We'll talk family here. It depends. If you know the conversation is going to be toxic, nothing's really going to come out of it. Okay, you're in touch here, in touch there. That's what you do. That's what you do. But if a person has a closer relationship, okay. But if it's one-sided, and you have to make all the effort, ask yourself the question, is this worth it? Am I gaining out of this by doing it? Again, person will say, blood is thicker than water. I've spoken about this many times, right? Blood is thicker than water. Okay, so what? But if you're not in touch and it's always toxic and nothing good comes out of it, so what's the point? And what will some people say? Usually a mother. Sometimes maybe even a father also. What would they say? You be the bigger person. Anyone ever heard that? I'm sure people have heard it. You be the bigger person. They won't do it, you do it. You got to make that effort. Right? You got to make the effort. You got to see. Still your sibling, people will say. Still your brother, sister, cousin, whatever, make the effort. Guilt. Right? Make you feel bad. Maybe I should call them. Maybe, should be in touch, different thing. But you see, if the shoe was on the other foot, right, you could always throw it back. If the shoe was always on the other foot, you would say, you think that person would do it for me? Now, sometimes they'll say, that doesn't matter. You're right, they probably won't. That's it. This is majorly one-sided. They'll say, you're right, they probably won't. Okay. Right? So what's the answer? What's the answer? The answer is, they'll tell you, even if the other person won't, you have the obligation to be the bigger person. Now, does that argument have any strength whatsoever according to Torah? Zero. There's no strength. There's no strength. Now, you could say, if it would be a mother, shalom bayis, let's say family harmony. Again, Do you really have an obligation? It would make your mother happy? Is it so impossible? Some people say yes. Some people say, I'm not getting on the phone with this person. Okay, much easier to text them. Send a WhatsApp message. Whatever. You don't have to speak on the phone. Now, some people would say, I'm not taking the bait. Not going to do it. Now again, what should a person do? So it depends on the situation. If a person, let's say, can make their mother happy, at the same time not giving in to any of your principles, that's worth something. Even if it goes totally against your grain. Even if you would flip the script and say, but this person would never do it for me, not in 100 years. Not in 10 lifetimes. They'll never do it. Doesn't matter. You got to be the bigger person. So halachically, it's not true. According to Jewish law, it's not true. Again, for the sake of family harmony, it's worth something. Not going to say no, it's worth something. But I don't always have to honor a parent's wishes. Certainly if it goes against Torah, that's for sure you don't. You got to be nice about it, but for sure. If a parent would say, if it was a Jewish parent would say they want you to go with them somewhere on Shabbos, and you're gonna desecrate Shabbos. No, can't go. It's a mitzvah. You got to listen to your parents, honor your parents. True, but not when they say to desecrate Torah. Not when they say to go against Torah. Then there's a bigger mitzvah not to listen to them. Right? But people will say, "Come on." They'll show a little bit of knowledge. Isn't it one of the 10 commandments? To listen to your parents? Yes. But it's also one of the 10 commandments not to desecrate Shabbos. Now I got a conflict. Got a major conflict. Parent says they want you to do something, desecrate Shabbos. The Torah says I can't desecrate Shabbos. Who do you listen to? Torah. So they'll throw that out you maybe as guilt. Even if you're not Jewish, they can say, come on, we're going here, we're going there. What's the problem? You're not even Jewish. So what? You say, but in order to be Jewish, this is what I need to do. Can't you break the rules? Can't you? It gets a little more complicated. Right? Then there's pressure and they make you feel bad and, whatever. But you got principles. You got Torah principles. So you may come out smelling bad anyways. There's nothing to do. Try and be nice. Try and be cordial. But there are people who don't want to confront. They don't want to confront issues because it gets confrontational. And then people start saying things against Torah mitzvahs. Okay. At the end of the day, that's their problem. But someone will say, I'm the one who caused it. I'm the one who caused them to speak against Torah mitzvahs. No, they would have anyway. Right? They would have anyway. It just happened to come up in conversation. But that's not your problem. That's not your problem. But again, it gets sticky. Right? People don't like to confront. They want to keep things on an even keel. But it's hard because it's going to be conflict. There will always be a conflict. So the question is damage control. And sometimes you can't. Right? Sometimes just damage and that's it. You take your lumps, whatever happens. They'll say what they say. That's it. There's nothing to do except, they're just going to try and make you feel bad. But again, if the Torah is true, it doesn't matter. But it stings. It can sting. But again, the question is, do I have to go so far out of my comfort zone? Yeah. For family harmony, yeah. You should, if possible. Sometimes not possible. You got to remember, one of Coffman's lines is, the Torah is not a pretzel. Right? You cannot turn the Torah into a pretzel. Meaning you can't turn it inside out looking for leniencies that don't exist. If they do exist, you can rely on it, good. If not, it's nothing to do. There's nothing to do. Right? So it's a painful thing. It's a painful thing. But at the end of the day, the end of the day could be these arguments will never win. So there's no point. There's no point. If a person can make peace, potentially, by doing certain things, okay. That is worth something. Not going to say not. It is worth something. But in the long run, you have to see. You have to see where it goes. You have to see how important it is. But a person also has to realize, usually, again, I'm not going to say across the board, usually family will not come around. They just won't. You're doing something, radically different. You're not the same. You're pushing people away. Certain things you can't do. You think God's more important than them. You never thought that before. Whatever, they'll call you on it. Not because they just want to belittle you. Some people will do that. But why do they do it? Because they're upset. They want you to be like everyone else. They want you to go to these things. They don't want you to be ostracized. They don't want you to change. It was good enough for you last year, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Why isn't it good enough now? Pressure. But I'm not saying it's coming from a bad place. It's not necessarily coming from a bad place. They genuinely want you to be like you were and do what they did. Remember, someone once told me, we were having this conversation, so much older than me, and I hadn't been touching, in a long time. I made a comment. I said something like, oh, that's the same person I used to know. Well, personality has not changed that much, over the years. But, someone says that, so what do they mean? They mean it in a caring way, not as a derogatory way. They want to say, oh, that's the person I miss. That's the same person I remember, as if to say the person you are now, you're a nutcase. I'm not saying that's necessarily derogatory. Some people it might be. Right? I'm not necessarily saying that it, for some people, it comes from a caring place. They don't want you to miss out. They want you to be like everybody else, whatever. They don't want you to miss out. They're doing it from a place of love. Other people not that way. It depends. Right? It depends. But still, you're not going to do that. You're not going in that path. And you have no interest in going in that path. But they don't want you to stick out. They want you to be like everybody else. Now, you have some people that, want to break you down, want to say you're a nut, want to say you're a fanatic. They don't look into things. They don't, they don't really care. They want to put you down. Okay, I'm not talking about that. That we get plenty of also. For sure we get plenty of that. But a person has to realize as well, at the end of the day, you're not going to please everybody. It's impossible. You will not please everybody. So better to look good in the eyes of God than do things that do not look good in the eyes of God, regardless of what family may say. But you may take a lot of lumps along the way. So again, when a person say, is it worth it? It depends on the person. Yeah. If you really believe in it, whatever, whether you convert or not, then you're going to keep it. Then you're going to do it, regardless of what people say. But the thing is, it's painful. It's painful. Nobody wants to hear they're different. Nobody wants to hear, quote unquote, you're breaking up the family. You're not doing what everyone else does. You're not this, you're not that. It's hard. It's hard when it's you against everybody else. Even if they don't know anything and never learned, they don't want to learn, they're not interested, they keep saying the same stupid things, they won't listen to reason, okay. That's part of the process. Yeah. So then, in the future, a person has to see. We can make mistakes along the way, that doesn't matter. The point is, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do now? What about the future? Someone asked me, before, getting together certain times, very important to family. Thanksgiving being one of them. Conventions. Thanksgiving, we don't hold as idolatry. It's all about It's all about football or turkey, probably in that order, right? So, okay, it's not a religious day. So it's not a religious day. And that's when family gets together. You can't get together with them on Shabbos. Can't get together with them on festivals. Now, isn't that the lesser of two evils? Yes. It's almost there, but it's going the ways of non-Jews. You shouldn't do it. Okay. That may be true. But this could be this could be very strong family pressure. And if that's the only time to get together, all things being equal, not going to be yelling and screaming, whatever, this and that. So then you should go. That's the best time to do it. If it would be, and the question was, what about get together, around December 25th or afterwards or whatever, for that type of party. That's a problem. Regardless of what family's going to say. That for sure is a problem. Yeah, because even if they're secular, it's still what it represents. Right? Thanksgiving doesn't represent that. Thanksgiving is not idolatry. There are some rabbinic authorities hold that, but we don't hold that today. We don't hold it, it's idolatry. But going in the ways of non-Jews, that could be. And that's not such a simple thing either. But, so my advice to people would be, if that's time to get together, you should get together. All things being equal. If not, then you don't have to do it. But I would say, it would be the best time because it doesn't interfere with Shabbos or festivals. But again, you have to see any of these family functions. It's not so simple, right? It's not so simple. Probably it's best not to go to a lot of these things, right? If possible, it's just gonna either bring up bad memories or just don't feel like you want to be there, right? I mean, if it's something that's let's say a person had a relative, it's a milestone, their 90th birthday party, something like that. Not on Shabbat. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be there. If you can be there, you should be there. If you can't be there or you don't want to be there, okay. But, if it's something that's possible, at least to keep some connection, it's always better. It's always better. Like someone once asked me, would you tell people to cut off relationships? And I said, depends. It depends. If it's toxic, this and that, then I would say yes. If it's bearable and whatever, you should keep, you definitely should keep up with it. But sometimes, again, Coffman would say, family's an albatross, an absolute albatross. Meaning that nothing good comes out of it. It's just going to cause you pain and suffering. Yeah, what do you need it for? It depends what it is. I'm just saying in general. It depends. It depends on the circumstances. Yeah, let me take some questions here. Someone here mentioned the once heard that a person declares every possession he owns is made possibly only due to Hashem. Yeah, having bestowed upon him, then the evil eye has no power over them. So if they declare everything's come from God, so that would be true, right? That would be true. In other words, I mean, obviously that's an obvious fact, right? As you point out here, true. Then the evil eye should not have power. So if you're using every possession, right, this is really what it comes down to. If you're using every possession, not only so you acknowledge where it all comes from. Okay? So if you're using them in the right way, and you're doing things that are going in the right path, you're right, that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. If it's being used for the sake of heaven, whatever, it doesn't fully mean, though, that a person still can't have an evil eye on them, still be jealous of them. Maybe they will be. But you're right, it's much less likely. If a person uses their possessions for good things, then there's much, much less chance that anyone would ever be jealous. That they'd want to look at you in a negative way. Right? Even if these other things come up, they think, oh, he's got the perfect family, he's got the perfect this, the perfect that. But if they see, if a person himself is using things for the right reason and going in the right way, that shouldn't happen. Right? So that I would agree. That should not happen. So then someone asks, some relatives they miss, very good, but you call them up, all they do is speak Lashon Hara. Yeah, it's whatever. It's the way of the world. It's the way of the world, right? You speak to anybody that is not attached to Torah and mitzvahs. That's what everybody speaks about. What do they speak about? Everybody else. It's what we call Lashon Hara Fest, right? That's what they do. They'll speak about some issues here, there, maybe. Someone's holding anywhere in the world, maybe. Right? But most things that come out of people's mouths are just stupid. Just stupid topics. They don't mean anything and have no repercussions for anything. You also have that. Been around a lot of secular people and whatever. Like there's just not so much common ground. But what's the thing they speak about the most? It's not about sports. It's not about entertainment. It's not even about politics. What's the first thing they speak about more than anybody else? People. All over. It's all over social media. It's all over the news. Talk radio for sure. All over the place. That's what people do. So it's very hard to be around such people. Because that's what they do. Imagine someone lives here in Israel and speak to a Jewish person. What are they going to say? They'll ask, well, what's going on here, whatever. And what's probably going to say after that? What do you think about Bibi Netanyahu? What do you think of what he's doing? Or what he's done, or whatever. On the States 2 years ago, someone, the only, serious question, I was there for 10 days, was someone asked me when Netanyahu took over, and he won the election, what I thought. Right? That's about it. That's about it for serious questions. Yeah. But again, that's what people speak about. What's going to be and all this. Everyone's looking to just, get rid of him, demolish him. I think he's causing all the problems, besides the ultra-Orthodox here. But, it's not the topic here. But what do people speak about the most is other people. Especially, you haven't spoken to them in a long time. That's the topic of conversation. That's where it normally leads. That's a problem. And they don't have, certainly for non-Jews, it's not forbidden for them. I would say it's a moral imperative, right? I would say it's a moral imperative, but it's not it's not forbidden. It's not forbidden for non-Jews, but the whole world does it. It's all over the place. Right? The favorite pastime. Speaking about others. Right? Obviously, if you haven't spoken to someone, in so long, that's going to be the topic. Probably. This person, you hear about this person, you hear about that person. It's all Lashon Hara. All Lashon Hara. Right? So each time a person, even if they're guilty of listening, they can't change the subject and this and that, they're guilty. They believe it. If they believe it 100%. If it's something might affect them, then you're allowed to guard yourself against it. You still can't believe it. Right? Still not allowed to believe it 100%. Nonetheless, there are more than 30 prohibitions in one shot. Right? Think about all the Lashon Hara going to be spent. It's going to be spoken. There'll be tons of Lashon Hara spoken. That's what everybody does. Not to mention the fact that everybody, and their mother at some point curses. This happened, F this, SH this, and this. They don't even think twice. And that's pretty bad. So I, get around that either. And people say, I work with these people and, work with different people and conversations are horrific. Yeah. So a person could ask, what did I deserve to listen to this? And one potential answer is not a question of what you did. It's a test. It's a test. Are you going to sanctify God's name more? Are you going to say, oh, I can't believe the person said this? Are you going to have a higher awareness? It's a test. That we have to pass. You're going to say, but I didn't ask for this. Okay, you didn't ask for it. And the way people dress, you didn't ask for either. Okay. And the way people speak, you didn't ask for. There are many tests in the workforce. Many, many tests. Right? This is one of them. How people speak. But even, I think, a bigger test than that is, certainly when the weather's warmer, is the way people dress. A bigger test. Bigger test. In the winter, it's a little bit easier. Right? A little bit easier because it's cold. So people are going to dress with more layers. In summer, it's more of a problem. Right? I would say, much more of a problem. But again, any of these things, these are tests. Whether it's with coworkers, whether it's family, it's like navigating these things is not so easy. Especially now you get all these, gender things or whatever, and you can't say anything bad against them. There's no free speech. You can say, well, the Torah says whatever, you lose your job. It's insanity. Absolute insanity. Well, that's the way it is. Right? You got to be politically correct over here, but there's certain things you can't say. Right? You can't say. Okay, so, you can't say things against them either. Okay, so you have to try and stay middle of the road. But there's, I asked someone this, I don't know, a few years ago. And I said, what happened, certainly at least in the States, what happened to, separation of church and state and all that's doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Freedom of speech in this case does not apply. Doesn't apply. See, you can also say, from the river to the sea, and that's not incitement. Right? Well, that might change. That might change now. But in general, that's not incitement. That's not anti-Semitism. That's a legitimate thing. Even though realistically it makes no sense at all. But in any case, lies sell. But the point is we're put in situations, we've mentioned this many times, the person's put in situations in order to be tested, in order to grow. Right? And I remember, people weren't so surprised the path I took. And people still probably think, I'm out to lunch and total fanatic and this and that. Okay. And they wouldn't be afraid to say it either. Yeah. And I had someone say, well, today's a different thing. It's a different generation. People think differently, whatever. Back in my day, 60, 70 years ago more, it was different, but okay, people have different ideas today. I said, but the Torah hasn't changed. The Bible hasn't changed. Times haven't changed. No matter, even if they have, so what? Even if it's much more open today and all this and all that, did the Torah change? The Torah say it was forbidden or not forbidden? Didn't change. They don't want to hear that. Okay. Right? You got to stand up for the truth also. But yeah, you got to be smart. Can't be stupid either. You got to be careful. You got to be careful over here. But someone's going to pin you down. You got to say, Torah says it's wrong. Bible says it's wrong. You want to go in that path? Okay. It's your choice. You want me to say it's okay? And I back it and and this and that? I'm not going to say that. Person can say, well, you got to be careful. Might lose your job in the process. Okay. But, at the end of the day, you're not going to be proactive over here. But at the same time, you can't say it's a good thing. You can't praise it. It's forbidden. Totally forbidden. In either case. Which, okay. Right? People say what they want. But, as I would always say, So I would always say, is the Torah true or it's not true? If it's true, there are obligations. If it's not true, do whatever you want. All I have to do is find one flaw. It's not true, the whole thing goes down. Just like in any other religion. Quote unquote. You find mistakes, can't be true. But, at the end of the day, connecting, let's say, with old friends sometimes is good. See what people are up to, different things. Family may be the same thing. What comes out of their mouth, all it is going to be Lashon Hara. Usually. So that's kind of hard. So you're going to say, well, if I speak to them, they're going to speak Lashon Hara. Well, at the end of the day, they're going to speak Lashon Hara anyway. Right? Regardless of whether you speak to them or not. So you can say, but I'm the goyim, I'm the one that caused it. You didn't cause it. You didn't ask them to speak Lashon Hara. Yeah. And if they say, well, how's so-and-so doing? So you gotta be careful what you say. You gotta be careful. Someone asked me about a certain person, what is this, probably about a month ago, a month and a half ago. And so I've been in contact with this person 30 years. So I mentioned, got a bunch of kids, one of them's married, that was it. Kept it very simple. Very simple. But the person could say, oh, what about this? What about that? Easily could lead to Lashon Hara. So what are we going to do? Not speak to anybody? We're going to say every time we speak to someone, we're over a Torah prohibition of with the Hevraltite Mikshol, right? You're not allowed to put a stumbling block in front of someone. That we're going to be accused of? Come on. Be accused of a lot of things. That's not one of them. I have to worry, well, if I speak to this person, they for sure are going to speak Lashon Hara. Does that mean that? I mean, there are situations where certain things you can't do. Right? You imagine somewhere, this Jewish person, orders something not kosher, and someone wants to give it to you to give to them. Well, you can't give it to them directly. That's something you can't do. That's directly put in stumbling block. But you're going to say, but they ordered it anyway. I just happen to be in line, and they, not in line to the place, but whatever, I just happen to be there. Someone gave it to me to give to them. And can't pass it to them. Right? There are limitations here. That's putting a stumbling block. Because you gave it to them directly. I gotta say, if I didn't give it to him, someone else will. That's not your problem. The fact that someone else, could step in and give it to them, so what? You're the one standing there right now. You can't give it direct. They're gonna get it from someone else. It's not your problem. Does that mean you have to, you have to take it and put it in the garbage? That's a good question. That's a good question. Stopping a fellow Jew from transgressing. But then he could have other claims against you. I don't know if you're allowed to do that. All right? It'd probably be a big mitzvah to do that, but I don't know if you're allowed to. Yeah? But you're not allowed to give it to him. That's the point. You're not allowed to give it to him. Or a similar thing. Let's say you have a, Jewish person comes to fix your plumbing. Let's say. This Jewish plumber. So he's not religious. And he wants a drink. Can you give him water? You can say, what's the problem? If he wants water, give him water. But if you give him water, it's not going to make a blessing. Now, you can ask him, listen, if I give you water, you make a blessing. So I don't know if you have to ask him or not. It says that Shlomo Zalman Auerbach of blessed memory, with Torah giants the last generation, certainly according to everybody. Shlomo Zalman says that you give it to him. Even if he's not going to make a blessing. Why? Because he'll hate Jews more if you don't. He'll hate Orthodox Jews more if you don't. Now, it could be. If he would say, come on, I'll give it to you if you make a blessing, and he doesn't want to make a blessing. It's like, well, I don't care about making a blessing. Yeah? You could make it worse. Could make it worse. So he says, you're obligated to give it to him. Yeah, obligated to give it to him because he might hate Judaism more. Now, the only question is, even if that's true, I mean, that is what he holds. Am I allowed to give it to him directly? Because he's not going to make a blessing. Yeah. So it's better, if possible, you put it in front of them, they take it themselves. Or let's say you have a secular Jew by you. You know they're not going to make blessings. Same thing. Same thing. You can put it in front of them, and then they take it. Yeah, giving it to them directly is a problem. I mean, there's no other way. That's what you do. You just give it to them. But it'd be much better you put it in front of them, because if you put it in front of them, you're not putting a stumbling block. They're doing it to themselves. Okay. I didn't do it to them. I for sure didn't do it. I didn't give it to them directly. So the fact you didn't give it directly, so it goes down. They're doing it to themselves. Giving it to them directly, yeah, that might be putting a stumbling block. So that you can't do. Better not to do it. If you did it, you did it. If you had no choice. Right? If you have no choice, you have no choice. But it gets a little bit complicated. Judaism's all inclusive here. Everything we do is that we're affected by. What we do, what we think, how we do things. Our persona, we're out there in public. It's kind of hard. A lot of obligation. And perception is an important thing. I'm not big into, necessarily, externals. How people dress, this and that. Okay, people dress in a certain way. They want to identify with a certain community, blah, blah, blah. Very good. Right? But there is something to be said for the way a person dresses. Someone who's considered a rabbinic scholar goes out and their shirt's dirty. Death penalty. You got to be impeccable. Would you ever see like a splotch on the Sefer Torah? The Torah scroll? It's holy. You take care of it properly. You can't, it's not going to be dirty with like sticky fingers on it. That's a disgrace. That's a disgrace. What about people that, if you're not dressing impeccable, yeah, you gotta be dressed a certain way though. Can't look like a slob. Gotta have proper hygiene. One of my personal pet peeves. You gotta have proper hygiene. Is that the end all things? Again, it's one or two answers. Someone, is not careful, like if they sneeze in public, whatever, to cover their mouth, or when they cough, or whatever. It's only two possible answers. Either they were never taught that was a, that's important. Could be they were never taught. That is definitely a possibility. But the other possibility is they don't care. Which is mind-boggling. Because cleanliness is close to godliness. So it's one of the two. I don't have another answer. But it's bothersome. Now, some people say that's what people do, whatever, that's just the way it is. I don't know. If you learn Torah, you gotta be impeccable. You gotta look impeccable. Can't look like a slob. When a person looks like a slob, they try and give over Torah, they're losing something. I'm not saying the person doesn't wear, a tie and all this whenever they give a class. I'm not saying that. And they probably should if they do. Make them look more serious. But, there is more to be said for that. How could someone give a class in a t-shirt? No. Seeing people do it. To me it's mind-boggling. You gonna wear a t-shirt? Come on. You got a Torah school right in front of you, be wearing a t-shirt? I don't think so. So where's the respect for Torah? You don't at least look the part, but you're giving it over? You got a wide audience? I don't know. You got thousands of views? You wear a t-shirt? Again, I'm not saying everybody does it, or even most people. I've seen someone do it. And I'm like, you gotta be sick. I mean, wait, you didn't have a clean shirt? I don't care if it's colored or not. I don't care if it's not even a white shirt. You don't have any other shirt to wear? What are you talking about wearing a tie? Yeah. I don't have an answer for that. It's disrespect. That is disrespect. So you want to look impeccable. You don't want people to say anything against the Torah. Nothing. All you want them to say is, wow, look at this person. Thank God his father taught him Torah. Thank God his Rabbi taught him Torah. That's the message. That's the message you want to give over. You don't want to give anyone one iota of a chance, to say anything. And people will say on the stupidest things, which don't matter. That you don't have to worry about. If someone did something whatever it was that they shouldn't have done, it looks worse. If it's permitted, even 100%, and there's nothing against it and all that, and someone still takes you to task for it, that's different. You don't have to worry about that. The Torah is what it is. You don't like it? Rabbi would say, go eat kugel. Okay. So you don't like it. I have to worry about that. Now, if you give over a certain perception, they take it that, they take an anti-Torah, approach to it because of what a person did, and it was kind of dodgy, as the English would say, yeah, that would be an issue. But if you did what you normally do, and that's what the Torah says to do, and people have an issue with it, they have an issue with it. It's not your problem. And if they say things against God, God forbid, they blaspheme, they say things against Torah, whatever, that's not your issue. That's not putting a stumbling block for you. You're doing what you need to do. Regardless, if you're doing the right thing. Yeah, a person can sing, let's say, I don't know, someone goes somewhere, they have all these kids, but everyone's behaving okay. I'm not even saying they're causing problems to different things. That's worse. Yeah. Well, let's say they're all behaving. The person got, 6, 7 kids. They all, they went out somewhere. The person looks like, oh, I can't believe that. The poor woman. So many kids. I should deal with that, whatever. That's not your problem. That 100% would not be your problem. Now, if the kids were rambunctious, they're running around and this and that, when they probably shouldn't be, they're going to say, oh, see, these kids are wild. Parents can never take care of them, right? You always hear this. And so many kids, you can never give so much attention to each kid. I was like, you got 2 kids, how much attention you give them? 1 kid, how much attention you give them? Right, okay. There are a lot of kids, each one needs their own attention. True. What, so we shouldn't have any kids? No, you shouldn't just have so many. But again, if they were impeccable and everything is good, can't say anything. And even if they would, if they say, oh, look how many kids they have, oh, it's terrible. Not your problem. Definitely not your problem. So, and, a person went out and, kids get rambunctious and they're bored and whatever. They can run around, do things. You got to be on top of them. You got to be on top of them. Sometimes easier, sometimes not. Okay. But the point is you don't want to give them any ammunition. Right? 0 ammunition you don't want to give them. Because whatever they say, it doesn't matter. Because if you're doing the right thing and you're going in the right path, so good. Right? So that doesn't matter. But if a person does something wrong, that makes everything look bad. Makes the entire Torah look bad. And again, we're our worst enemy. So you don't want to give them any ammo, right? You don't want to give them any ammunition whatsoever. The only thing they can say is, oh, wow, look how well behaved they are. Look how they act. That's the Kiddush Hashem. That's sanctification of God's name. All you need is like one kid to spill something, bump into somebody, whatever. Like, it's over. Because, then someone's going to say, oh, look, see, they can't even control them. They can't this. Those are the ones recently that, went to the States. They were on thank you with people. They had rambunctious kids, right? Very active kids. And I told them very clear. Yeah, you got to be on top of them. You're going to be by somebody for a few days, whatever it is. You don't let them out of your sight. You don't want to give them any ammunition whatsoever. It's going to be hard, 100%. 100%. But if they see you're on top of them, you're dealing with them, even if, they may be out of control a little bit, but you're dealing with them, you're on top of it, even if it's going to be hard every second of every day, till you leave, that's what you got to do. That is what you got to do, because you do not want to give someone the ability to say, look at these kids. They have 3 kids in succession. They're not very far apart from each other. And they're rambunctious. Okay, kids are rambunctious. Some more. Some more, some less. But you don't want to give them one iota of a chance of saying anything negative. Now, on the flip side of that, now let's say in this case, made an unbelievable sanctification of God's name, no question. But that person's not going to say, oh, you know what it must be? It must be their upbringing. It must be Torah. It must be their values. They're not going to say that because they don't have those values. So what do they say? Well, what potentially could somebody say? Look, I don't know what you did. They can say this to the parent. These kids say, I don't know what you did, but look how these kids came up. But they're not going to acknowledge Torah. But they see the beauty of it when it's done right. They absolutely see the beauty. They have to see the beauty. It's obvious. But let's say this, don't worry about it. They didn't really mean to do this, and I'll discipline them. I'll take care of it. Person's like very, very nonchalant, as they would say. That's the wrong message. That is the wrong message. Because the kids are jumping this and that. Okay, you got to keep them busy. Got to be on top of them. You're going to be tired doing it. Okay. No question. But you don't want to give them anything to say at all. Nothing. You want to try and be as impeccable as possible. Now, is that possible 24/7? Kids are kids. You can't keep them cooped up, so to speak. You got to entertain them, different things. So you can say kids are kids, okay? But you're in that situation, you got to be on top of them. I remember once I was, at a mourner's home. And someone said, someone asked me, how many kids do you have? So I said at that time, so I said 6, and people just mouths were hanging open, food falls on the floor. So they go, well, what do you do when you have, so many kids and everyone wants to watch different things? I said, well, I don't have a TV set. Which they're also shocked at. So then somebody said, somebody asked, they said, well, they're so well behaved. How'd you do that? So I said, I beat them once a day. So no, I'm just kidding. Then one of my kids said, no, he really does. I'm like, shut up. I'm like, wham. I was like, what am I looking good at least once, out the window. Yeah. But they're going to say, wow, there's so many kids. Okay, it's not easy raising kids. There's no question. right? There's no question. Even if you have 2 kids, even if you have 1 kid, yeah. Even it's hard. It's hard. It's a hard generation today, raising kids for a lot of reasons. So to see kids that have values and they want to go in the right direction, they may say, "Yeah, you might be in a cult, been brainwashed." I'm like, thank God, been brainwashed for the right, in the right way. Very good. But at the end of the day, they can't say it's because of the way you brought them up, because then that goes against what they believe in. And then they're going to say, well, they brought them up this way and they have these values. I don't have these values, right? So they're going to say, well, goes against them. So they can't admit it. They see the difference, though. They see the difference. They see the kids care a lot more, care about the previous generation more, right? Because of an obligation to. Obligation on our parents, grandparents. Some people, and some grandparents say, wow, it's unbelievable. I hear from them. They call me. Some other grandkids, I don't hear from so much, this and that. But it's ingrained in them. This is a major value. And it's taught. Right? I mentioned this story. My youngest son got bar mitzvah, so the rabbi synagogue got up and spoke. And he said, bar mitzvah boy has to know 3 things. I forget what the third one was. One of them is that when you come to, he said in the name, forget actually we said it in the name of also one of the great rabbis of the last generation. But he would always say, this rabbi would always say to bar mitzvah boy 3 things. The first one was, when you come to prayer, you should come at the beginning, you shouldn't come late, you should stay till the end. That was the first thing. The second thing is, you should be very stringent on honoring your parents. Right? On honoring your parents. So at that point I said, see, you heard that? Some people understood, laughed, yeah. I forget what the third thing was. But honoring parents it's ingrained. It's ingrained in kids. It's a major Jewish concept. Again, it's one of the 10 commandments. It's one of the 10 commandments. So, this is not by accident. Now again, some kids will have a better relationship with their parents. Some people will have a relationship with their parents, whatever it may be. But what's the bottom line? Honor your parents. You have to respect your parents. In general. It's a major Jewish concept. So some people, they'll say, well, you got lucky. Or, I don't know what you did to deserve this. Well, don't you think it has to do with the way they're brought up? And even if they're brought up in the greatest, schools and yeshivas and girls' schools and whatever, is that a guarantee? No. Torah's not an inheritance. It's not a guarantee. But there's an emphasis on character development. There's an emphasis on honoring parents, keeping mitzvahs. So this is an obvious thing. An obvious thing. But they're not going to see it. They're not going to acknowledge it. Because it goes against what they've done. But it didn't come out of nowhere. Even though a person can say, you got no guarantee. You're right. I got no guarantee. No guarantee how our kids are going to turn out. 0. Even if we educated them when they were, when they were babies, until they grew up, sent them to good schools. A lot of things can happen along the way. A lot of things. So you can say you got lucky. We don't believe in luck. But they're educated in a certain way. All things being equal, this is what should happen. It doesn't happen out of nowhere. Right? Again, some will be better, some not. Depends on the relationship, the circumstances, a lot of things. But all things being equal, someone goes through the system, that's a message they're going to get. And they're going to get that message a lot. Right? They're going to get that message a lot. Helping parents, helping out, doing, doing things. Yeah. That message is going to get out. So you can't say, wow, you got lucky. Had people say, "We'll see what happens with your kids." At least somebody, I grew up in my parents' synagogue, went to my parents' synagogue. The father converted. They're more religious than anyone else. The kids are a disaster. Why are their kids a disaster? Because they didn't give them a real education. They don't move to a Jewish community like I told them to. Not saying, everyone has to listen to me. But when I was becoming religious, I said you have to get them in a normal place. Because they see contradictions. That's it. So it was a disaster. Say, we'll see what happens to your kids. So my answer was, you can curse me all you want, but I said the answer was that my kids are going to know what Torah is. They're going to know what Torah mitzvahs are. Now, they choose to keep it, good. They choose not to keep it, okay. Everyone has a choice. Everyone's got free choice. But they're going to know what it is. These kids don't know what it is. They may think they know what it is, considering what they got in this and that. The parents, they know what they were doing. There are a lot of compromises that were made that didn't make sense. To the kids, they didn't make sense. Do as I say, not as I do, blah, 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 blah. And the kids just, one had children with a non-Jew, not married. One married to a non-Jew, one never been married. The one never been married is closer to Torah than anyone else, than the other two. But it's a disaster. So people say, see what happened to them. Okay, I understand what happened to them. I understand very well what happened to them. You don't give them a real education. This is what could happen. I shouldn't say this could happen. This will happen. Now, is that a guarantee if they had a real education? Not a guarantee. We got a much better chance. Much, much better chance. Yeah, but again, people are not going to say, oh, look, they were really educated in their religion. They're not going to say that. They're going to say, as someone here points out, you're being brainwashed. What about this whole transgender thing? That's not brainwashing. They say that's education and ramming it down people's throats. That's education. What we do is brainwashing. Come on. Is there a difference? Big difference here. But they won't acknowledge it. And that makes sense why they won't acknowledge it. Because they have to admit what they've done is wrong. And the path they've gone is wrong. Now, someone in a secular world, can they have good kids, quote unquote? Sure. Could. They call them, they help them, do what they can for them, sure. Where they got the value from? Good question. But let's say, isn't that possible? It's for sure possible. Definitely possible. Yeah. Is it probable? It's not emphasized. I mean, this is something obvious. I would think it's obvious. Yeah, it's a universal law. People are going to say, well, my parents are. Rabbi tells the story. When he was younger, his mother came to visit, and they were on a bus, and they heard a secular kid. Secular kid, you're talking, 70 years ago. More even, I don't know, however long ago it was. It was a long time ago. And they heard secular kids say, Abba Shali Chamor. My father's a donkey. They were like flabbergasted. Flabbergasted. How in the world could a child say that about a parent? Yeah. But it makes sense. If they hold by evolution, then yeah. So we go back to being monkeys. I said, my father's a monkey. To have a child say the father's a monkey. Father's an idiot. Whatever. They couldn't imagine. Couldn't imagine. Say, okay, that's previous generation. Think about it. What happened to respect for parents? I mean, you have to agree with what everything the parent does. Not saying that. Parents can do things wrong also. True. I mean, we're perfect by any stretch. But to say that, that's how far it goes, yeah. No, parents do stupid things and kids lose disrespect, okay, but it doesn't matter. There's even an obligation. There's a difference of opinion. There's an obligation to honor parents, even if the parent was evil. Difference of opinion. Now, even if they're evil, doesn't mean you have to honor them. And if it's toxic, you can't be around them. Okay. You have to have some level of respect. So, again, if the person's really evil, you don't even have to have that. But in general, it's a hard mitzvah to do. But that's how far it goes. Right? The reason is because they brought you into this world, for better or for worse. And God put the soul in the body. For better or for worse, they put you in this world. I had someone once tell me, I became who I am despite my parents. Meaning maybe they weren't the best parents in the world. Whatever. Maybe had a lot of shortcomings. Okay. So a person said, I became successful despite them. Now, what does that mean? What is that person saying? The person's pretty pompous, but what were they saying? They're saying, despite my parents, look what I did in the world. Look what I did. Despite who they were. Despite their limitations. So I said, you took yourself out of the womb. Yeah, you clothed yourself. You went out to work as a baby. You got all this knowledge. They didn't do anything. They did nothing for you. That's what it sounds like. I became who I am despite them. Oh, really? They didn't do anything for you. Zero. And if they gave you a hard time your whole life, let's say, didn't at the very least they brought you into the world? Shouldn't one of the things I heard Rabbi Peterman a few weeks back, 2-3 weeks back, he brought down, there's a good segula, a good omen. Person needs, person wants to get married, livelihood, health, whatever it is. When you say the Shemona Esrei, when you pray the silent meditation, whatever you call it, you should think and thank God for bringing you into the world. Just thank Him for so many things, but thank Him for the most important thing, He brought you into the world. Regardless of your life is easy or not, doesn't matter. You acknowledge the fact He brought you into the world. Again, we don't have a choice who our parents are, siblings are, right? Born against our will, die against our will. Coffman would say in parentheses, right? Still have to live. We'll get to that, speak about that one day. Maybe we'll know about 98, right? We'll get there, right? But nonetheless, so we don't have a choice. Didn't they bring you into the world? They brought you into the world. So if the very least, regardless of anything else, they brought you into the world. You're going to say, what if a person was abused? And I'll say, okay, I'm not even talking about that. A person's evil, they're evil. That mean I have a right to blaspheme anytime I want against them because they're evil? Yeah, this is a hard mitzvah here. So you can say, well, it's very toxic when I speak to them. They say, okay. So who says you have to talk to them? Right? But at the very least, they brought you into the world. Let's say people can't look past it. They'll say, look what they did here, look what they did here, and they made mistakes. Okay, nobody's perfect. Some are worse, I get it. But they brought you into the world. Right? So the greatest compassion, or the greatest, gratitude, that's the word. Right? The greatest gratitude a person has to their parents is the fact they brought you into the world. You came into the world through them. Three people, in creation of a child, right? Need a mother, a father. Say you don't need a father, it could be done in vitro, but okay. Mother and a father, and you have God. God puts in the soul. So at the very least, you have to have gratitude. Now, a person's going to say, it's not so easy. Look what I've been through. Look at the hardship. Okay. I get it. Right? Says you have gratitude. If they wouldn't have done what they did, you wouldn't be here. You say, well, my soul would have been maybe through someone else. That's not the point. Even if your soul would have been through someone else, you're not. Your soul is in the body that God put it in. And He used these two people to come together, right, to create the child, right? It's Biology 101 or 101A. We'll keep it very simple. Keep it clean. But you have to have gratitude. You have to, they took care of your needs. They clothed you. They fed you. Yeah. They helped you. You grew up in their house. They took care of your needs. That's worth something. It's worth a lot. So someone might ask, what do they put me up for adoption? What about the dog? Okay. Right? I'm not talking about these cases. I'm talking about a normal case. Normal case. A person can say I was adopted, I was put in foster homes, this one, that one, the other one, I ended up with these parents. They took care of me. Whatever. Okay. So biologically parents, they gave up for adoption. Okay, not an easy thing. And there were times people have contacted them or been able to contact them. They didn't want to have anything to do with them. Some did, some didn't, whatever. Okay, that's painful. That's painful. Then if you feel sorry for them, or maybe you don't, I don't know. Whatever it may be, they still brought you in this world. Right? Honoring parents is a very, very hard mitzvah. Rabbi Yochanan, the Gemara says, it's glad he didn't have that opportunity to fail in the mitzvah of honoring parents. His mother died in childbirth, his father died before he was born. So he said on himself he wouldn't have been able to face that mitzvah. It would have been too hard of a mitzvah to do. It's a very hard mitzvah to do. Right? Parents have certain expectations, they get older, it gets harder to deal with them. Right? All kinds of things. Maybe it's even hard to deal with them, even earlier. Okay? It's a very, very hard mitzvah to do. But still, you got to do it. Right? It's the best of your ability. It's the best of your ability. So, at the end of the day, you can say, well, I didn't ask to be born. You're right, you didn't. God put the soul in the body. Everyone's got potential, whatever that potential is. So we're ambassadors, supposed to be ambassadors for God. Whether Jews or non-Jews. Non-Jews can also be ambassadors, going in the right direction, doing the right thing. But obviously the Jews are the chosen nation, so we got a greater obligation. Very good. So you got to please our Father in heaven, whatever we do. But, this mitzvah is a hard mitzvah. It's not, it's just not an easy mitzvah to do. In many ways. But you have to have gratitude. Some would say, but what if it's a bad relationship? What if it's like almost an impossible relationship? So I say you keep your distance. 100%, you keep distance. You need that aggravation like another hole in the head. Okay. So, every once in a while you're in contact. Okay. But there has to be gratitude. If it's too painful, it's toxic. Okay. Right? There may be limitations here. But they brought you in this world. So you can say, I didn't ask for them to bring. I wish it would have been someone else. Okay. We weren't given that choice. The soul was not given that choice. God cajoled the soul in order to come to this world, which the soul didn't want to do. God convinced the soul to come, and God decided which body the soul is going to go in order to help it reach its true potential. But we didn't ask for it. Right? But again, you're born against your will, you die against your will. Let's start, you're born against your will. Do we have a choice who our parents are? No. You don't have a choice. But the fact is, they're the ones who brought you into the world. So if they brought you into the world, they have to have gratitude. You can't have the selfish attitude. Right? Where, they did this and they did that, and the person has claims. They might have done things wrong. What do you do if parents are limited? They have limitations. So you have to see what their limitations are. It's not their fault. For some people, it's not their fault. They have limitations. Even if they do stupid things, they have limitations. So a person understands their limitations and understands the bigger picture, it's a lot easier to deal with. Right? Some say, my parents made me do this and they did that, whatever. But I wouldn't know if any parents actually read parenting books. There are people that follow Dr. Spock, right? Sure, there are people out there who follow Dr. Spock, read his books. Well, how many people actually took parenting classes? Maybe they asked their friends for advice, different things. But how many people actually took parenting classes? So society I grew up in, I grew up around older people. I never heard such a thing. I mean, it doesn't exist. But I never heard it. People going to a parenting class. Maybe back in the day, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't so in vogue. I don't know. Never heard such a thing. Heard of Dr. Spock. A lot of people read his books. Very good. Yeah, if they were good books. Yeah, but people, parents going to parenting, parenting classes. What would the kids say if they found out? Like, oh, what's the matter? You're not doing a good job. You don't know what you're doing. You have to go to a parenting class. Obviously, if the kids are younger, right? It's obviously easier because they're not going to know where you're going, so it doesn't matter. But I don't know. There are people that that bought Dr. Spock's books. Very good. Again, if they were good, but never heard such a thing. So it could be, was hanging out with the wrong people, maybe. But such a thing, that parenting classes, Now, again, I'm not saying people haven't done it. I'm not going that far to say that. I'm just saying what I saw, I didn't see it. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Someone ever mentioned they took parenting class. Okay. I'm saying I don't think most people have. Right? If I were to guess, not knowing, maybe I'll Google this, see if there's see what the results are. Right? How many people have actually taken, parenting class. Doesn't matter. Before marriage, after marriage, doesn't really matter. Right? I don't know. Maybe I'll be surprised. Maybe it's a lot more than I think. Okay. Maybe. I'm saying what I saw, I didn't see. I could actually ask, maybe. Maybe I'll do a study, ask somebody. Ask a few people, take a survey. They know if their parents ever went to, or friends of their parents ever went to any parenting classes or read any parenting books. Yeah, I might be surprised. I'm saying, but what I saw, I didn't see. Someone asked, why don't souls want to come into this world? Very easy. What are the souls doing? They're in the spiritual world. They know what absolute truth is. They're going in the right path. They're doing God's will, whatever that is. They're basking in God's glory. Why would they want to come back? That's the answer. In other words, the soul is basking in God's glory, whatever that means. Yeah, they don't want to come back to this world. Some would rather, they know they have to suffer. They know they have to be purged of all their sins. Okay. So for some souls, they'd rather suffer than come back to this world. Because they know once they're fixed up, they're going to bask in God's glory, and that's greater than anything in this world. Right? All the mitzvahs, if every single person in this world would do one mitzvah at the same time, the power of that mitzvah would not equal 1 second the next one. In spiritual terms. And being in that world is not the same. Right? Being in the spiritual world is not the same as, let's say, being in this world and overcoming our evil inclination. So it's catch-22. But the soul would not want to come here. The soul has no desire to come here in general. It'd rather be in the spiritual world where it's learning and getting absolute truth. And why would I want to come to a messed up world? Come into a body? Yeah, why would that be? If that world is so great as we understand it in spiritual terms, soul would never want to come here. But God has to convince the soul. Because it's having too much enjoyment from God himself in the next world. So if that, so if that's true, it won't come back. The only reason it would want to come back is well, just about everybody is a reincarnated soul, is to fix whatever it needs to fix up. It's given an opportunity to come back. But again, deep down, no pun intended, deep down, why would it want to come back? So you say to fix it up. Okay. But God can say, listen, I'll give you a choice. For the next whatever, you're going to feel a tremendous amount of pain. However a soul feels it, doesn't matter. The soul's going to feel the pain of the terrible things it's done in this world. Okay. God will say, I'll give you a choice. You're going to feel that pain for a while. But I promise you afterwards, you're going to be pure like you were before. So then the soul says, you got another alternative? Is there anything else I can do over here? So God will say, yeah, I got another alternative. I could put you back in a body. I could put you back in this world. And I could give you an opportunity to fix yourself up. Now, some souls will say, all right, I'd rather do that than suffer. So they can be put in another body. Other souls may say, I'll take suffering. I don't want to go back to that one. I have no interest to go back in that world. I'll take all the suffering so I can bask in your glory when everything's done. I'm not going to say what the percentage is. I have no idea. But you see, a lot of people here, souls have come back. So obviously, if that's true, then they took the other side instead of suffering. So it could be that's the majority. They're given that opportunity. Given that opportunity to come back. Or I shouldn't say it's the majority. I mean, at least the ones that we know. The ones in this world are probably reincarnated souls, but you probably have plenty that didn't come back. That didn't want to come back. Or didn't need to come back. Any person would say, like during the Holocaust, died of, sanctifying God's name. They're not coming back. They don't need to come back. They probably came back then, and then they got fixed up, and that was it. That was it. So, Thorner points out because the soul needed help. The only reason the soul needed help is it wanted to get fixed up instead of getting purged. It's like, what do you rather do? Get sledgehammered for like the next 1,000 years? And then everything's good? Or you want to give another opportunity? It's like, take the other opportunity. Yeah, it is an opportunity. And it's probably the last time, though. Probably the last time the soul's going to come back and get fixed up. Right? It's the last chance. Right? A person can be reincarnated 3 times, 4 times. That's been explained to me. So this is probably the last time around. But yeah, it's an opportunity. Golden opportunity to get fixed up. I would think someone would want to do it because, if you mess it up, then you mess it up, rather get purged. But how many people want that pain? I don't know. Right? I can't tell you what the stats are. I have no idea. Well, I could see, just thinking out loud, I could see that the person had an opportunity to get fixed up instead of getting sledgehammered. Probably better try and come back to this world. Even though it's probably better there, they're going to get sledgehammered. That's what it would seem. But the power of that world is so strong that even if you're going to get sledgehammered, you're better off being there than here. Much better off because, again, you know what absolute truth is. You know what's going on, right, in a clear way. Why would you want to come back? And what's the obvious answer? So you can get fixed up. So you don't have to go through that. So, okay, you got both sides. You got both sides, right? So if they understand what it means to get fixed up in the pain, they could say, "No, what? I don't want the pain. I'm not ready to take the pain. I'll take it later. I'll push it off. I'll come back." Okay. But in general, without that, let's say it's the soul's first time in the world. The soul can say, I don't want to go. I'm much happier in this world. I don't want to go in a body. I don't want to be tested. I don't want this. Yeah, so God has to convince the soul because it's having a better time where it is than actually be in this world. That's the reason, in general. Yeah, any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 o'clock Israel Time. Anyone has any questions, feel free. Find me on Facebook at Chaim Coffman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, OrthodoxConversion.com, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Q&As, Ethics of Our Fathers, Book of Leviticus. Anyone wants to send me an email, RabbiChaimCoffman@gmail.com, RabbiChaimCoffman @gmail.com. Wish everyone a good beginning of the day, middle of the day, end of the day, and everyone have a great rest of the week.